Operating systems. Fear versus faith. Inspiration versus memory. Gratitude versus disappointment. Letting go is key. We can spend our days in the vacuum of anger or betrayal. We can review the evidence, review the files, come up with an amazing case against our past, complete with pictures taped to the wall of characters that let us down, like in some old dirty cop movie where they are about to bust a major crime syndicate. Those we trusted wrongly or those that just defied our expectations. That can be our focus, and it can be justified. It will even be our gravity if we just let go. Anger and depression act like a vacuum sucking us in. Gratitude, on the other hand, takes work. It takes action, it takes effort, and it takes discipline. It takes being motivated to go against the grain, and for me personally, that means a relationship with God and prayer, because left to my own devices, my own sinful and wayward mind will simply float until I get pulled into the vortex of fear. The opposite of fear is faith, which is also simply a choice. None of us can be sure of where this life is going, but if we choose faith, the hard times we endure become evolutionary in nature. They humble us. They push us to seek forgiveness for ourselves, and in that motion they push us to forgive others, which allows us to let resentments go and replace them with gratitude. For those that resist God talk, we can look at it as technology as well. What operating system are our lives running on? What operating system are our lives running on? Often people will try and separate the spiritual from the reasonable, science versus God, or magical thinking versus rational thinking. But when we apply reason to this, they both lead us to the same place. I guess the key difference is those that put their faith in God receive direction and help from an all-powerful source beyond them, and those that don't think that everything arrives from the force of their own will. And regardless of where you reside on that spectrum, the way to build a functional life of moving towards a vision remains the same. It's simply better to live in faith over fear. And that really is a daily choice, a daily remembrance. And for me personally, I simply don't know how people obliterate fear without God. But that's just me. And similarly, with operating out of inspiration rather than memory, the switch we have to flip to operate from inspiration is called forgiveness. And so with forgiveness, there is both spiritual reasons to forgive, but also black and white reasonable ones. And that is to liberate ourselves from memory. Resentment holds us to the past. It traps us into replaying old scenes in the movie theater of our minds, and it has us arguing with phantoms and preventing us from arriving in the here and the now. If we let go, if we forgive, if we take responsibility for everything that's happened to us, we can actually arrive at the here and the now. We can be present. And from that place, inspiration becomes the loudest voice in the room. We can facilitate a life that isn't stuck. It's just an operating system update. For the pragmatic, and again for me personally, I can't imagine arriving there without external help, without the power of prayer. But again, that's just me. Because in my experience, restructuring this operating system isn't as simple as just viewing it logically. And for me, the capacity of my own will and my own mind is overwhelmed by society, by the past, by the dysfunctional environments from which we have arisen, and by the betrayals our formative years have attracted, by the spiritual battlefield all these polarities are playing out on. none of us are the same, and there seems to be those that can arrive at functional operating systems without the help of a higher power. And so, by me expressing the way I arrive there, which is by almost entirely leaning on the help of a higher power, I'm not judging those that perhaps have capacities beyond my own. In fact, I would love to have a conversation to discuss how they arrive there without a spiritual belief. But at the same time, so much of the light, or even all of the light that's within us, within me to give, I should say within me to give, personally, means I have to also share the most fundamental relationship that's led me here. I need God to get there. But again, that's just me. Woo! The operating system that works equally on the level of reason as the level of spirit, which leads me to believe that in this spiritual war we are in, there is an enemy to our self-empowerment, to our independence of thought, which propagandizes people of faith into characterizations of intolerant buffoons who believe in magic and who don't believe in science or reason at all. But belief and reason are not at odds when we look at the building blocks of a well-structured mind that can build dreams from inspiration. Why is there an agenda to disempower man, to subjugate and control humanity? You could blame it on the so-called elites, or you could blame it on the devil. But whoever or whatever you blame it on, you can't deny that it exists. Perhaps it's all just God's design built to evolve us into the ultimate expression of who we were born here to become. I would argue that to frame it that way is an operating system upgrade from just viewing ourselves as victims of a world gone mad. Either one of those realities could be true, but no matter where you are, no matter how many resources you have or don't, the choice is always yours. It's time for an update. Oh yeah, it's time for an update. Let's get it, it's time for an update. Oh yeah, let's operate the system of our minds and update the way that we live. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, and tell me your thoughts. Do you need God, or can you do it without God? Are you updating the operating system in your mind?